So, this chapter of My Hero Academia was unreal. Coming off of the last chapter, which I wasn't feeling all too much, this is, by and large, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest chapter Jump has seen all year and is easily top 5, top 3 chapters of My Hero Academia ever. This changes everything. There is so much to talk about with this one, so let's not delay any further. We firstly open up with a shot of a hospital that is not the now completely destroyed Jakku General Hospital, where people are rushing to turn a specific television in a specific room off. From there, we have the room of Rei Todoroki as she watches the television. And we actually also see the flowers that Endeavor regularly sends to her. No coincidence. But during her following of the news, which I'm sure was already concerning enough with the current villainous threat and the members of her family leaning towards heroics, the signal would begin to shift until she would see him, Dabi, sitting in front of the camera and now in front of the masses. Past that, we have more of Gigantomachia committing the largest act of property damage in the nation's history as he called out to and approached his master, Shigaraki, who was now engaging with a few heroes. And lest we forget, Shigaraki is an arachnid now, with tendrils no longer extending from his hands, but now his back, as internally, All For One is thankful for the timing of his ever-loyal dog, Gigantomachia. Furthermore, applauding the fact that Shigaraki's body can even function following how much physical punishment he's been made to endure between Endeavor and Deku alone. Then establishing to us that he had reallocated the pain receptors in Shigaraki's body to the mutant type quirk within his spine as to reduce damage. But even still, logically he shouldn't be able to move. And honestly, that is the power of plot armor, baby. Shigaraki, like Deku, is one stubborn bastard and refuses to go down without going plus ultra. But seeing as Shigaraki refuses to fall back, All For One is just hoping for a retreat thanks to Gigantomachia. But continuing the fight, Shoto would propel himself upwards towards Shigaraki, reeling back, as he thought to himself how futile efforts against someone like Gigantomachia and Shigaraki would be. And so taking down an already severely injured Shigaraki must take precedence. But he isn't the only one thinking this, as Nejire makes her move towards him as well. And you know what, I wonder if Shigaraki is even mentally present anymore, as All For One seems to assess the quirks in transit towards them. Our two young heroes then gave it their all with a combined strike, and it is just incredible. The power outage of this is no doubt ridiculous. But as they do this, a bloodied Endeavor would yell out for everyone to run, as the now outstretched colossal hand of Gigantomachia would reach towards them, swatting everything and everyone away with ease. With this now holding onto Bakugo having moved to safety, Ida calls out to his comrades, but is told to release his grip. And although he was relieved to see Bakugo regain consciousness, he admitted that he couldn't do that with how injured he is. But Bakugo, being the badass that he is, would declare that they need a complete and decisive victory. Which is very true, the heroes are not looking good here at all. They're a bunch of kids and the number one hero facing off against a horde of capable villains, aiming to bring about society's end. It is a bad look for sure. Machia would then size down certain parts of his body, particularly on his back and on his fingers, to look at Shigaraki in his hand, as he'd request his master's next order to no avail. And in my mind, if Shigaraki were to answer, it's a 50-50 toss-up between it being his voice and All For One's. If it's All For One's, he's gonna tell them to retreat, to fall back. If it is Shigaraki's, then he is probably gonna say, yo, this is all out war, you better take them down and capture that boy. But Spinner 2 would look to their leader, eager to inform him of what they had been through, but would cut himself short upon seeing the current state of the man. Endeavor, now after checking up on Deku physically and his beloved Shoto verbally, would think to himself how he's letting Hawks down by not having taken down Shigaraki by now. And at this point we can all see it, the situation is just dreadful. And so he wonders how in the world he'll be able to take out Gigantomachia and what sort of weaknesses he might have. Questions that we've had for weeks and weeks. But even then, his lungs are shot. I imagine it's like a chronic smoker trying to breathe after heavy physical exertion. And with that, he began to doubt himself before remembering his vow to the people, then refusing to fail here, reminding himself that he is the #1 hero. But just then, the star of the show would emerge. And finally, oh finally, Horikoshi has officially given us a reason to care about Dabi. Blissfully stepping from the back of Gigantomachia, Dabi would overlook them all, comparing them to ants, now even more excited to see Shoto as well. Endeavor and Shoto would look to him, unsure what to make of this appearance beyond the fact that the League of Villains is here now too. But Dabi would further his taunting, now saying that Endeavor shouldn't be calling him by his villain name, but rather by Toya, as he poured a liquid over his head to reveal his natural hair color. The two were stunned without words, as Toya would continue by saying that despite the current state of his face, he at least hoped that his own family would recognize him. Which I can't argue with, because at the very least you would have thought that the fire would be the red flag if nothing else, but oh well. And Deku, who was listening in on all this, would conclude that this was in fact the believed to be deceased elder brother of Shoto. With that, we shift back to the broadcast from earlier as Toya would speak his truth. And he would begin by stating that he was the firstborn son of Endeavor and has killed over 30 innocent people, a number that he has actually kept track of. Keyword being innocent here, as he's killed way more than that. And if you want to go by association, being in the league and all that, so many. And would furthermore go on to explain his villainy, which included everything we already know about Endeavor. That in his pursuit of All Might and recognition of his own inability, he went to crazy extremes to produce a child with an even better quirk than his own. And Toya would say that he was made for his father's selfish dream, but because he was a failure, was tossed aside and forgotten. And all the while we receive some disturbing imagery of what this war really looks like. Decimated cities and countless crushed beneath the rubble. And if you recognize him, the boy that was Endeavor's biggest fan was watching this broadcast as well. Toya then saying that he could never forget what Endeavor had done and has watched him from afar for quite some time. That one's actions cannot free them of their guilt, and that the fire he'd used to kill and hurt so many was sparked by the same fire that they celebrate and parade. And now back to the battlefield, Toya would tell them of the broadcast as Skeptic was delighted by this revelation to the masses. The fall of Endeavor had finally begun, saying that ever since that day, all he could think about was how to do the most damage he could to the end of Endeavor's precious career. And I really wonder what day he's referring to here. Maybe the day he supposedly died. And he would go on to say that every day he used to go to his brother Natsu, questioning why he existed with tears in his eyes. And with this glimpse of the past, his hair looks different again, so I have no idea what is up with this guy's hair. But continuing on, he would say that originally, the plan was to kill Endeavor's precious Shoto once he had become a big deal. Which just goes to show that this man Dabi, or I guess Toya, doesn't give a damn about his family in addition to Endeavor. But conveniently, Endeavor achieved his dream and became the #1 hero. And Toya just could not stand the idea, the thought of Endeavor enjoying that sort of title. First, he sent the high-end Nomu, Hood, then the Emperor of Fallen Light, then Ending, but Endeavor prevailed each and every time. And you know what, I'm impressed that those two were a part of his plans as well, but come on, if Hood couldn't do it, there is no way that those C-list villains could have pulled it off. But nevertheless, if this guy got anything from his mother's quirk, it is him being so cold-blooded. He would then speak of the pressure of being the #1 hero, wondering if Endeavor had been purified by the praise of the public, questioning if he feels like a proper father figure now, bonding with all his children. And let me tell you, I am so happy to see this flamboyant jubilee from Dabi, because we have needed this level of expression from him for so long. His interactions with Hawks following the death of Twice was a glimpse towards this, and I must say that it is magnificent. And at this point, he was just mocking the fact that Endeavor truly believed that if he focused on the future, the past would just all end up forgotten, saying that he's here to teach him a lesson that he will never forget, that the past never forgets, that it is time to dance with his son in the fires of hell. And that is the chapter. And oh man, this chapter just left me as speechless as Endeavor and Shoto, but for the sake of the video, I will do my best. Yet another white-haired antagonist has stolen the show, and beyond all the death and destruction brought on by Shigaraki, even with a weaker quirk that hurts himself, Dabi has managed to deal the biggest blow to heroics in the history of the series, and possibly even its canonical history. This is a revelation and reveal we have all expected and have been waiting for what, like 3 years or so? And now it is finally here. And like Dabi, who's been waiting for the perfect opportunity, our patience has been rewarded. It's no secret that Dabi did nothing for me beyond look cool and have a cool looking quirk, but now it looks like that is all changing. He claimed to be heavily inspired by Stain, but beyond grouping up with the League, I wonder what else that influence may have changed in him. With his mother being shown in this chapter as well, I have to wonder why it was the burning of Shoto's face that finally broke her and not the death of her eldest son. Not to mention, the question remains of why Toya looks the way he does, beyond the fact that his quirk runs the risk of hurting him. And if I'm to expect a response from his family here who are looking straight at him, I'd imagine that Endeavor is going to buckle. This is him going face to face with all of his shame incarnate. Not to mention the fact that he has seen Dabi multiple times over and has never put 2 and 2 together. I really and truly believe that this will break him. Maybe not forever, but momentarily at least, yes. However, I do feel that Shoto will be the one to step up to the plate, if anyone, at this point. What that'll look like, I don't know. And once again, I gotta give Dabi his praise, because although he is not as powerful as Shigaraki, in Shigaraki's case, I am constantly afraid that he is going to turn over a new leaf and try to absolve himself of his crimes and realize that he shouldn't be a villain or what have you. But Dabi, I feel like he is off the deep end. This guy is actually insane and is not turning over any leaves unless he's burning them all to a crisp. This man is deranged, and he is full on ready to go and destroy everything in relation to Endeavor, and I love it. Everything about this is just so interesting. And you can certainly expect a lot to be discussed here on this channel, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications to stay up to date with all of that. And if you'd like to support us further, please consider doing so over on Patreon. We make anime and manga content full-time with multiple uploads a week to the point of being nearly daily, and would sincerely appreciate your help. A special thank you goes out to our patrons Rare Lambo and Phil Mooch for the support. And if you don't know by now, when it comes to bringing you some of the best My Hero Academia content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.